This is Dr. Ruben Chen, and welcome to the Vital Signs Podcast. Hi, this is Dr. Ruben Chen, and welcome to another Vital Signs Podcast. We have a very special guest here today. Before we get started, I do want to make a shout out to our big sponsor or supporter, which is Sunrider International. They have the best herbal health food products on the market. Anything from weight loss to protein powders, but also household products and even herbal toothpaste. So they have the best all natural products. They source everything themselves, which is great, and manufactured in-house for your benefit. So if you want to learn more about Sunrider, you can check them out at www.sunrider.com, or you can follow them right here. You're probably checking this out on maybe on YouTube. So the Sunrider International YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and anyways, check them out. They're awesome. All right. So I have a guest here. Her name is, how do you say your last name? So it's Maggie Grindatti. Is that right? If I said that right?
Grindatti.
Grindatti.
Yeah, okay. It's pronounced exactly as it's spelled.
Awesome. Anyways, this is actually a super awesome experience for me. So for those of you who don't know, I've been doing martial arts for most of my life, grappling specifically for, I don't know, like 20 plus years. So I'm very excited to have our guest on here today. So Maggie, can you give a little background about yourself and sort of your martial arts background?
Of course, yeah. So I actually not just started. Now it's like it always seems like you just started and then the years pass and it's like, holy crap. It's been 7 years now at this point since I started martial arts, I guess we'd call it, because originally I started training for MMA, to fight MMA. My uncle is like one of the old school promoters in the sport. And I was kind of always the athlete of the family. So he always wanted me to do MMA. But my mom's thing was like, no, you got to go to college. When you graduate college, you can do whatever you want. So I actually played Division I field hockey in college. And then right from there, I moved to Hawaii, where my uncle lived, and trained to MMA. And then I ended up just falling in love with the jiu-jitsu part of it. I really don't mind like the hitting and getting hit. Just for some reason, jiu-jitsu, I liked the lifestyle better, you know, the lifestyle of MMA takes a certain person to be able to controlled in sports. My whole life, I kind of wanted something that was more my own calls and stuff, you know, so jiu-jitsu is very, I think, more independent in a sense. You can train if you want. You can compete if you want to. It's not like MMA where it's like you have to train 3 times a day, get hit all the time, you know, keep your weight a certain place. So I just really enjoyed the lifestyle of jiu-jitsu better. So I committed to jiu-jitsu once I got my blue belt, and I went to my first IBJJF tournament in 2016. And after I competed that, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So at Blue training, I was working, and then I would fly to the mainland once a month to compete. And then in 2017, I met my fiance, Cyborg, who most people who do jiu-jitsu know who he is. And I moved to Miami, and ever since then, he's a big guy. Yeah, I've won.
I mean big in the jiu-jitsu world, but he's also a big guy. He's a big guy.
He's big.
Yeah.
So ever since moving there, I was able to complete winning worlds at every single colored belt in gi and no gi, back-to-back years. So that was really, really exciting. And now we're at black belt, you know, which is forever at this point. So that's where I'm at with that, and it's really exciting.
Wow. So let's do a little breakdown for because some people
Okay,
probably may not know what MMA is. So
for
can you
sure.
break down what like mixed martial arts is and how is that different than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Can you sort of break that down?
Right. So MMA, I feel like, is really what people kind of think of when they think of martial arts.
Yeah.
You know, because every time when I'm like, oh, I do jujitsu, they're like, oh, you get kicked and punched. And I'm like, no, you know, so like that's really the difference is MMA is literally mixed martial arts.
Right.
You have Muay Thai, karate, jiu-jitsu. You could use basically anything. So MMA is going to be the UFC, the Bellator, the Invicta, you know, for females, the actual striking, kicking, jiu-jitsu, basically everything in one. And like I was talking about before, I don't think it's more serious. It's just definitely very different in a sense of lifestyles. You know, most people cut 20 to 30 pounds for a fight, you know, and
Yeah.
the training is like in jiu-jitsu, you go train jiu-jitsu. But for MMA, you have to train literally everything. If your striking isn't good, you have to do just boxing. If your ground isn't good, you have to do just jiu-jitsu. So you're going from striking to wrestling to sparring to everything. So it's like MMA is definitely, I think, more of a career. Obviously, jiu-jitsu is a career too for a lot of people, but you're more of with MMA, it's like your entire life and you have to commit. You really, it's hard to do any other job if you're fighting MMA. And I think that was something that I didn't love about it too, was it just wasn't enough for me, you know?
Yeah.
And even so, like people fight maybe in American sports since I was 4. I have games every weekend, you know? So I like jujitsu better because I was also able to compete more with jujitsu versus MMA, where it's like you could do a really hard kick and then the person pulls out. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
that's
like,
the worst.
even if you're going to fight, you don't know if you're going to fight. And it's a hard lifestyle. And I really like thumbs up to people who can handle it because it's something.
Well, it's tough because you have to, in a very short period of time, which is just the same 24 hours as everybody has, but you have to learn, you have to be an expert in so many places because your opponent is going to be looking at you and finding where your weaknesses are. You're going to be trying to do the same thing.
Exactly. You're going to have to change your game almost every time.
Yeah, it's so much. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is different. Yeah, it's just a grappling part, but it's also something you can sort of do for forever. And one of the things I like about BJJ is that it has really marketed itself well to the adult who likes martial arts. Where, you know, like Taekwondo, karate is sort of like a kid's thing, but BJJ, I mean, they have kids classes, but like it's a lot of adults. I mean, I didn't start BJJ until I was an adult, and so that's it's just not as common. Everybody's like, oh, that guy started when he was 4 or 6, and you don't hear that. Well, now you probably do hear about that with BJJ, but
now
like, it's just not as common.
50%.
Yeah.
But before it was like early 20s, you know.
Yeah.
Late teens. Yeah. Now it's like 4 years old, and it's scary. Because they get so good because they start so young.
I know, that's so crazy. So tell me, why fighting? I know because there's like a kind of mentality even among men, but you are a woman. It's also even more rare for a woman to want to do fighting. I mean, why fighting for you?
I mean, again, like it was something that my uncle always really wanted me to do. And I just was never against it. You know, I didn't know if I liked it or not because I had never tried, but I've always been an athlete, literally since I was 4, you know, started with T-ball and went all the way to college to be a Division I athlete, you know? So it's like, when I finished school, it was like, okay, I can't not be an athlete. You know, I said, I just can't not. I don't know how not to be. So when my uncle mentioned, and I didn't even know jiu-jitsu had the world it has. I had no idea. like at all that it was an actual like profession. So when he wanted the MMA thing, I was like, oh yeah, for sure, you know. And I was already into watching UFC. That was like the time I actually went to the when she was, so that would get me excited. So right out of college, when I was like, I need to do this because I needed to be an athlete, you know, and I never genuinely loved it. You know, I trained MMA for 2 years. I never really like, it just didn't feel like who I am, you know, or I think it might've just been too serious in a sense of like, okay, I want to be an athlete, but I also want a career. You know, I'm one of those people who's really big and like, yeah, jujitsu is cool, but like make sure you can pay your bills at the time. So there was that. And then when I went and did my first jujitsu tournament, that's when I fell in love with it. And I think one of the biggest things too is I was always a team athlete. You know, I always had 20 girls, you know, on the field with 10 of them working together. But I also hated relying on other people. So when I was able to step on a mat with myself and it's like, hey, if you lose, it's your fault, nobody else's. I think that was where my drive and success came from, because I only had myself to rely on, you know, like, of course you have your team sitting there coaching and cheering for you, but like, they're not going to get you out of a submission, you know, or something like that. So I think what I really like about the fighting is that it's just you. And I think it builds you so much, not just as an athlete, but as a person, because it puts a lot on your plate, and win or lose, the emotions that come with it. Like, I could lose a game in college. I never cried if we lost a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still cry every single time I lose a jiu-jitsu match, you know, like it's just, but good emotion, you know, because you're working hard and you're putting energy into something and it shows you're passionate. It's not like I'm crying because, oh, I suck at this. It's like, oh, I'm crying because I worked so hard, and it's like, it's almost taken away from you. So it makes you such a strong person, because it's literally like this, which so is life, you know? So I think that's why it's so cool, because you have your ups and you have your downs. It's not like, oh, my hockey team lost, but it was Brenda's fault, you know? So it's like, if you lose, it's on you. Just like in life, if you mess up, that's on you.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually something I think needs to be repeated a lot today. I was just talking with my kids about it, and everything that they do wrong is somebody else's fault, right? You're like, oh, you know, Elijah should have done this. Yeah. It's so crazy. So
100%. Nobody likes to take responsibility.
Yeah. So grappling specifically, so for those of you who don't know, so BJJ is the part of martial arts that doesn't have any striking, but it is where you wrestle and you can submit the other person.
It's the gentle art.
Yeah, it is. Gentle, except for the scratches and the pressure of big people on top of you. For a woman, what do you think are the benefits of BJJ?
Definitely confidence. You know what I mean? And you see it mostly in, I would say, like younger women or like kids, you know, like the teens and stuff. Like, I've seen a lot of kids who don't look you in the eye. They don't shake your hand. They barely say hi. They let their parents talk to you. And I'm not talking 4-year-olds. I'm talking 12, 13 through 16-year-old girls that are in a little turtle shell, you know, or, and that goes all the way to 40 years old, you know? Because you learn so much, you know, about your body and how to protect yourself. And again, in the streets, like, you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to try to fight you or take whatever it is, you know, but you still do feel better. You know, it's like, whether you can fully defend yourself or not, because strength is a thing, whatever, you do feel more confident just being alone in the world. And I think that's so important for every single female to have, and not just in a sense like to protect yourself from intruders, you know, but just for job interviews or Zoom meetings or anything you do in life, it's so important to be able to roll your shoulders back and be like, okay, I can do this. And I think every day in jiu-jitsu is just like fighting, you know, it's like you'll have days where you do really good and you leave feeling great, but it's the days where you don't do so well that it really makes you think about it. But it doesn't, truthfully, most of the time, like, it doesn't make you quit. That's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. I think it has the highest retention of anything I've personally ever seen.
I know people get addicted to it and they lose all the time.
And they lose all the time, but it's like, you know, there's answers to why you lost. So I think just coming back maybe the next day and you do really good, there's that little like 1% more of confidence, you know, because you had a bad day to a good day. So it's like, I think that's what it is. It's impossible to have two weeks of bad days in jiu-jitsu. It just is, you know, because you're rolling with so many different people. And then it's like, even if a black belt submits me 9 times, but he submitted me 10 times the day before, there's that little 1% of like, didn't get me that. So even when you lose, you can win. Yeah. And I think that's what helps you build confidence so much. And to me too, I think you get to really see your progress very clearly. You know, it's not like you need your boss to tell you you're progressing or somebody else. Like I just said, if I go from getting submitted 10 times with this person to then the next time 9 times, I see my progress without anyone telling me, because it's literally right there in front of me. Physically, I can feel it. So I think it's not just defending yourself. There's so many ways that jiu-jitsu gives you confidence, and everybody needs confidence. Like, that's not a thing that some people, oh, I don't need it. You need it. You need confidence to be successful in life. And obviously females struggle with it, I think, more than anybody. 1, because of social media, you know, 2, because girls are just nasty, you know, like guys don't have to be friends, but if they're all in a group, like, they don't care. You know, if you have a group of girls and they're not all friends, 3 are going to be standing here, 2 are over here, 5, you know, like, it's just how girls are. But I think with jiu-jitsu, when you build more and more confidence, those egos definitely go away for females, and you have a better appreciation of other females, because it's hard to be a female in our sport, which kind of makes you more aware that it's hard to be a female in life too. So then I think it just not only gives you confidence, but it helps you be nicer to other women and help build other women up rather than competing, in a sense.
Yeah. One of the things my wife actually told me was that jiu-jitsu is really good at putting you in a very uncomfortable position and making you stay there. So you have to just know and be calm in a very uncomfortable position, because somebody is trying to submit you
while being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's tough. You know, you're just like, okay, I'm safe. There is somebody that is literally on top of my back trying to get on top of me, and I'm just calm down. And that's tough. It's a very tough thing. And if you can get through some 6'4" guy trying to strangle you, then other things don't seem quite as bad.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. There's so many hidden benefits of jiu-jitsu, you know, that I really don't think people even doing jiu-jitsu realize until they're in a situation in life where they're uncomfortable, that they're like, okay, it probably could be worse.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, but that comes from jiu-jitsu a lot of the times, you know. It's like you have to be comfortable in very uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, so this is maybe a little bit up, but how do you prepare at such a high level? So, I mean, we were just talking about the general benefits of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but you're not like the average black belt. So what makes a champion? What like kicks it up to that next level than just the guy who likes to train in a club to a world champion? Yeah.
Right. I think what it is just always being prepared. So that's something that we're really big with at our camp, as in fight sports, is that we don't have camps. You know what I mean? It's not like I go fight and then I take a couple months off and then I start to get ready again, because it's not good for your body either. And I think that's something that I didn't love about MMA, was that it was like this with your body, you know, and your mind and your training and everything. You know, with jujitsu, because it's not as aggressive on the body, it's best to stay ready all the time. You know, if you're at, like you're talking about, a higher level, you can't do that like, oh, I'm going to come and go, unless you just want to fight once a year. You know, you have to always stay ready, always keep your body ready. You know, you're not cutting 20 or 30 pounds, so you don't have to worry about that. You can always stay in really good shape so that when you're called to fight, you're ready to go. And I think that helps the mind as well too. With MMA, it's such a battle of like, okay, now I got to get my mind ready. When in jiu-jitsu, you can keep your body ready, you can keep your mind ready all year round without it being overtraining or hurting you. You know, so I think when you look at like the people who are at the top in jiu-jitsu, it's a lifestyle. You know what I mean? And of course, you know, there's the hobbyist lifestyle where they train maybe 3 times a week, but they come from an 8-hour job, you know, that's different. And a lifestyle in a sense, like if you call me, I'm ready. And I think that's, if there's people who want to take it to the next level, it's as simple as that. You just always have to be ready.
Wow. So if you get a phone call or there's a tournament that weekend, you're on it, and you've already been training nonstop for the entire year, then tournament this weekend or a tournament in a couple weeks or a couple months, all the same to you.
Yes. Like, of course, there's some that are like bigger than others, and it's going to get you a little bit like more mental than other tournaments. But again, in a sense of like, you're still ready, you know, whether you get tripped out in your mind or not, like you're still ready. And that's the other thing too. Like people always say like, oh, I want to do my first tournament, but I don't know if I'm ready. It's like, well, how do you know? Even me, when I walk into a fight, I have no idea whether I'm going to go in there and kill this girl or whether she's going to submit in 30 seconds. Like that's the other thing about jiu-jitsu, is like, you don't know until you go in there and fight if you're ready for it or not.
Yeah, that's true, right? A lot of people, especially when they're beginners or something, they're like, I don't know if I'm ready. And you don't know if you're ready, but that's the whole point of
I
going.
never know if I'm ready.
Yeah. I guess that in their minds are thinking like, am I going to be able to win? And I guess that's different than if I'm ready, right? I mean, anybody can go to a tournament, but if you're going to win, that's different.
Right. And you should never go into a tournament and not wanting to win, but needing to win. You know what I mean? Like for me, what I tell people, because I think the other thing too is jiu-jitsu is very trendy right now.
It
is. You know what I mean?
It's like the biggest thing.
Yeah. And like social media is all into it, and people are famous now, you know? So it's like, I think people put a lot, and I had this really bad at the beginning of my black belt career, where it's like, because I won everything when I was in the colored belts, I would walk into fights needing to win and I would freeze, you know, when it's like, the reason why I fight is because I love fighting. And that's what I tell people when they're like, oh, like, what's your, you know, like, how do you prepare mentally, or how do you know if you're ready, or this or that? It's like, it's not so much about being ready, but it's just about wanting to do it. And you see it a lot right now. You'll see people like throwing up before they fight, or like sweating because they're so nervous. And nerves are okay, but it's like, okay, are you doing this because you want to, or are you doing this because you feel like you have to? You know, and you see that more than ever right now because of it being trendy, you know. And that's my thing. Like I only fight if I want to fight. You know, if I don't feel like fighting, I don't go, because I know mentally for me it's not good, because I'm going to go there and fight somebody who actually wants to fight, and it's not going to go well. You know, so that's what I always tell people when it comes to, am I ready? 1, you're not going to know until you shake hands. Right. And then 2, should I fight or should I not? It's like, well, do you want to? And then you see people like, oh, yes, well then go. Oh, I don't know, then don't.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't do it, don't do it. But yeah, because that it happens all the time, you know, and I always try to tell people that. And the other thing too, when people are like, how do you deal with pressure? I'm like, jujitsu doesn't pay my bills.
Oh.
So there should be no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like, you got to go out there because you love to do it. I do believe everyone who does jujitsu should try and fight if they have like I don't know if I should or not, because you'll know. You can get beat by 20 points and be like, I loved that. Let's go again. And then I had one girl, she's a blue belt now. She won everything, hates fighting, won't like stop. And I'm like, that's okay. You know, if you don't like it, you don't like it.
So how do you, do you do other types of things besides BJJ to stay in shape? Like swimming or yoga, or what do you do?
Yeah, so I actually own a business. That's, again, where my money comes from, and that's where my pressure is, you know?
Okay, that's a good point.
It's called Champion Fit.
Uh-huh.
And it's strength and conditioning, more specific for jujitsu, but mainly for athletes. I went to school for this. This is what I've been doing since 2014. And this program over the last 10 years, playing with it, I made into a very specific way so that it's not only for the athletes that I train all of the athletes in our gym, as well as some of the top athletes around the world through online, because it's an online platform actually. And I believe everybody is meant to be athletic. Mm-hmm. We just limit our bodies from doing so. So the slogan for my thing is look like an athlete, perform like a champion. So the purpose of it is for average people, if they want to look, you know, like an athlete and be able to move like an athlete as your bodies are supposed to, it's a perfect online program for them. And then for my athletes, to turn athletes into champions. I've done my own strength and conditioning for all of my world titles I have, so it's been proven. I also train two of the #1 fighters. One is Cyborg at ultra heavy, and then at middleweight I have Wagner Rocha, and both of them are 40 years old. Wow! And they're both #1 in the world right now.
You train Wagner Rocha too? Man, you have like a pedigree too. Good people to train.
I train a lot of the top athletes because I'm one of the first people to really make it a thing for jujitsu. And of course, on top of that, I do jujitsu, which I think is also really important too. I've seen so many people go to these really good trainers, but they don't do jujitsu. And I do believe you can't train somebody unless you do jujitsu properly. You know, of course, there's box jumps and deadlifts, like the basic movements. But a lot of what I do is I watch jujitsu, of course, on top of doing jujitsu. So when I go to create a workout, I can do these moves and stuff that are very jujitsu specific, because my goal is so that when you're training or fighting, all you have to worry about is jujitsu. Not whether your muscles are going to last, whether your opponent's stronger than you or not, whether your body's going to withhold it, and also injury prevention. We do a lot of stuff on one leg, without our legs, just our arms. I do, like, people think my workouts are crazy, but it's like, you do jujitsu. You are in a different position every time you roll with somebody. So you have to train your body to be in all these different positions while moving weight, while holding something, while using resistance, or you're going to get in a fight and you're not going to be able to keep up, or you're going to get injured. And that's one of the biggest things with jiu-jitsu is injury prevention, because like you said, you can do it forever, but you can't if your body's not reacting. So that's what it's all about, is creating muscle endurance, so that, again, while you're training or fighting, all you have to worry about is jiu-jitsu. Your body should react naturally.
Wow, that's actually a very different concept, I think, than most gyms. I think most people just think you just roll and you just train, you just do jiu-jitsu like 3 times a day. You just roll with different partners and maybe go for a couple of runs or a swim and do some yoga or something like that.
Yeah.
But you're trying to make like in other sports like baseball or hockey, they have very, very specific training regimens just for that sport.
Because they only have certain amount of movements that they do.
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting. I'm surprised that nobody is actually, I think about a lot of the top people, even one of the guys I train with, he goes to a gym where a guy, he's a baseball trainer, trains him, but it's not specific for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and like the foundation is probably amazing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, maybe the coach is watching jiu-jitsu. Like I know some trainers actually have mat space in their gym. They don't do jiu-jitsu, but they have a little mat space where sometimes they'll have their athletes roll so they can watch, and kind of come up with things. But I do believe it's really important that if you're doing jiu-jitsu and you want to be at a certain level, you need to have somebody who knows a little bit more, you know what I mean? A little bit more specific. Because like I said, in jiu-jitsu, your body's in a different position sometimes than it's never been in every single day. It's not like, okay, I'm a baseball pitcher, so what am I going to do? A lot of hip twisting and a lot of arm movement on one arm,
Yeah.
For pitchers, like that's what it is. But in jiu-jitsu, sometimes you have one leg, sometimes you have no legs, no arms. It's all over the place. So your body has to be ready for it. It's super important. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is I always see a lot of people, maxing out, doing their one rep. And it's like, when do you ever do one rep in jiu-jitsu? Never. And when are you ever fighting somebody who's over 300 pounds? Never. So that's the other thing too that I tell people is you want to make sure your strength and conditioning is adding to your jiu-jitsu and not taking away from it. And the other thing too is like people do leg day and upper body day, but in jiu-jitsu, you're using your whole body the entire time. So all of my workouts, even though, okay, maybe the next day your legs are sore or something, we're always gripping something and we're always using our full body because that's your whole body has to be trained to move together because that's what it does in jiu-jitsu.
That makes sense. You're right. A lot of guys will like, okay, we're going to work on strengthening the knees. And all right, we're going to get the rotator cuffs. And today it's going to be a shoulder focused workout. But you're right. You have to get, especially for jiu-jitsu, is a very core oriented martial art with like just abs and the back because you're always twisting. And that's it.
So much posterior chain and core. We do core every day after our workouts for 5 minutes.
Wow. So where is this? It's online. So what is your website or how
it's super easy. It's championfit.us. So www.championfit.us. Really easy to get to. It's a monthly subscription. And the greatest thing about it is there's only 3 different styles of workouts. So you have one that's based more around endurance. You have one that's based more around strength. And then you have one that's a little bit of a combination of both, as well as muscle memory. That's a fight simulation one. But the coolest thing is you get to create your own workout based on the equipment you have. But I have these lists that you choose from programmed so that whatever exercise you choose from this list, it's exactly the type of exercise. So a lift, an explosive movement, mobility, strength, whatever exercise you choose is going to work within the workout that it's supposed to be, but you get to choose based on your equipment. There's also 50 home workouts on there because people in their excuses of I don't have time. Well, if you have 25 minutes at your home, you have time. And then also 50, 15 to 20 minute yoga, more athletic stretching flows as well. And then there's also pre-planned workouts that I put on there weekly. So if you don't want to create your own, you can just use that. And they're all 25 to 45 minutes long. That's it. Because that's the other thing is people like to use CrossFit for jiu-jitsu a lot. But CrossFit is a sport.
Yeah.
You don't do basketball to get better at soccer.
Right. That makes
so like
sense.
the explosiveness of CrossFit is good, but you're doing too much.
Right.
You know, you don't do one sport to get good at another. So that's like another thing. These are 25 to 45 minute workouts. So time consuming isn't the issue. And again, it's going to benefit your jujitsu. It's not going to take anything away from it. We actually go 8 to 9 a.m. We work out, and then jujitsu starts at 9. So we go right from our strength and conditioning to the mat. And your muscles are actually like super warm and activated. So usually you end up training even better than you would if you didn't work out before. Mm-hmm.
So that's also a different concept too, is to do a workout before you train, because most people think, oh, I'm going to be depleted and I should just sort of avoid BJJ tonight because I did my weightlifting, my legs are wasted. I just
the leg day.
I know the leg day. I was just training with somebody last night. He said, oh, my legs is just totally shot and I only did legs today. So, but that's because, and then that's interesting about the explosiveness, because in BJJ, it isn't, I mean, some parts of BJJ are explosive, but it actually is a lot of sort of these static movements where you just sort of hold it for a period of time and then you just slowly move through that. So that's actually a very different skill set.
And that's the thing with Champion Fit. If you ask any of my athletes, they've never done the same workout twice, ever.
Wow.
Again, the 3 workout styles are the same, but the exercise, there's hundreds of exercises. So you never have to create the same workout twice. So getting bored isn't a thing, which there comes the retention, you know, that people usually don't have because they get over it. And like I said, too, moving in all different types of ways. You have to be ready to move all over the place. And that's something that I'll do too on my Instagram is I'll post an exercise and then I'll post the jujitsu movement of why we're doing this exercise. You know, so that's the thing with strength and conditioning. If for whoever, you know, ends up listening to this that does jujitsu, is you need to make sure that it's adding to your training and not taking away from it.
Besides like the exercises, do you have recommended diets for people as well? Or, I mean, I know there's so many diets out there, right? Everybody's got their own thing. Sunrider has some things too, but like what specifically do you recommend, especially for jiu-jitsu athletes? You're just, I mean, you're training guys who are in their 40s to try and compete at a very high level. What do you recommend that people do?
Eat more than you think.
Really?
We're so lucky with jiu-jitsu because we burn so many calories that one, you really don't have to count calories, except in a sense to make sure you have enough.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu. And then if you're doing strength and conditioning on top of that, like you should, I always suggest eat all day. Eat all day. For real. Because if not going to get what you need. If you're eating whole good foods, you can eat all day. And carbs, when people do jiu-jitsu and they do a keto diet, you are literally going to die.
That's what my wife says. Yeah.
You'll die. Like, I don't know how people ever could do that, because carbs are literally your best friend. I don't eat carbs at night. I like to cut carbs out at night because I'm going to bed. I don't need the energy, but I eat carbs all the way from breakfast to the last snack I eat before dinner. Because I do 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I do at least 1 protein shake and then at least 2 like pretty good sized snacks. You know, I make sure to eat all day because like on top of bad strength and conditioning, if you don't have enough food for energy to do jiu-jitsu, you're going to die. But that's the thing. It's so much easier than people make it out to be. If you just eat good foods, hey.
Hi. Hey, babe.
How are you? He's like, what's happening? If you just eat good, like whole foods all day, rice, protein, vegetables, even pasta, like whole grain pasta, go for it. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to be fine. Because when it looks, at least Champion Fit workouts, you usually burn between anywhere from 300 to 600 calories. And then in jujitsu, you're going to do probably 800 to 1200.
Yeah.
So right there, you're already close to that 2000 calorie daily diet. So if you're not eating 2000 calories, you're probably not eating enough.
Yeah, actually, I wear a heart rate monitor when I train.
Yeah.
And I always show guys like, look, I just burned like 800 calories in the last 45 minutes. Because that's what jujitsu does. If anybody wants, that is a way to lose weight, because it's all core. Sure. And it just squeezes out the calories out of you. But I am so hungry.
That's the thing. It's not just the physical part of it. Like whenever we do like a single leg strength and conditioning workout, you sweat way more because you're so focused.
Yeah.
But that's it too. It's not just the movement. You have that like adrenaline of this person's trying to kill me. So it makes your heart rate and your body burn probably like twice as much as normal, because you have that other person, and mentally you're overdriving as well.
Oh, I've never thought about that. You're right. Because it's so funny because during those, I've been on a treadmill or bikes or something, and I do not burn the kind of calories that I do when I train. And that BJJ, and I've always wondered what that is. Yeah. It is a mental, huh?
The mental.
Wow. So right now your main thing is Champion Fit and also training these big time athletes. So how can people get in touch with you or connected with you? You said you have like an Instagram.
Yeah, the best way is my Instagram. Any questions, I'm really, really good. Like I luckily, because of my online program, I only have like 2 clients a night. So at night I leave the gym earlier now, and I come home, and for 2 hours I save just to be on my phone, talking to people, answering questions. So anybody who wants to contact me, just my name, Maggie Grindatti, one little thing on the handle, no numbers, no nothing else. Anybody who sends me a message, I'll reply, within a couple of days, whether it's strength and conditioning, whatever it is. I am always more than happy to answer questions.
Wow. And what is your website again?
So www.championfit.us.
All right.
Very simple.
Well, Maggie, thanks for your time and sharing with us some of your training. And I think the mindset, one of the things I think I'm going to remember is to train when you want to compete, you want to compete and not need to compete. And I really like, that's like a mindset for life. Right?
100%.
Yeah. Because if you want to do something, you're going to do it. But if you need to do something, your palms are sweaty, and that this is like, oh, I have to do well. That breaks people down for sure.
And it's about training too, like if you don't want to train one day, don't train.
Yeah.
You're probably going to gain more than you would if you trained,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for your time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Yeah, it was awesome. All right. Well, thank you. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right. Thank you. Bye.